What happened?
And then?
What happened was...
What happened was...
Oh, crap. I got to put this over here. Or am I putting it over here? Hello?
There you are. Look.
There we are. We got to get this straightened out.
You can just keep that.
I can keep this?
Yes.
Yes, my collection's now 501 DVDs.
Oh, I screwed it all up.
What's the DVD?
Dead End. I've no interest in ever seeing that again.
Oh, boy. Is that good?
Yeah.
Well, Spinal Tap meets Tremors.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Enough said?
Kind of.
All right.
Kind of horrible, but that's okay. You'll probably enjoy it.
Kind of shitty, kind of good. You know?
Yeah.
Good shit.
It's one of those movies that just,
I watched, speaking of shitty and good, I watched Jesus Christ Vampire Hunter again the other night.
There's that.
Have you seen it?
No.
And, like, the first 15 times I saw it, I absolutely loved it. And the other, well, I was a little drunk, too, so... And I'm, like, watching going, this is not good. I mean, it's not good, but it just didn't satisfy me.
That was a thing. Did you ever see, what was the one with...
Abe Lincoln?
Yeah, was it Zombie Slayer or Vampire?
Yeah, it was Vampire. He was also
yeah. I thought it was great. I saw it in the movie theater.
Yeah,
I thought it was really good. It's you know you have to go when you go to a movie called Abraham Lincoln Vampire.
Right.
You have to
you
know
go
what you're
in
getting into.
knowing
You're going to see a cheesy movie. But they did like it's filmed well and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's not.
Well,
like
this was not filmed well. It was kind of like a student film, and all the audio had to be redubbed because they just shot it on. Like camera.
Well, wasn't those great?
Oh, they're fantastic.
After the podcast, I'll tell you guys about my experience watching 120 Days in Sodom.
You already explained it to us.
Oh, yeah.
I already talked about that.
I did laugh out loud for as many times as I've seen Jesus Christ Vampire. There was one time where he's like fighting the vampire lesbians. Well, right there, you know.
Well, I mean, what would it be without vampire lesbians? Like that's what makes it good.
Jesus jumps up and goes, "Body of Christ." I'm like, yeah, like it's awesome.
There are movies that I watch over and over and over again, and I still laugh on the same parts. And I laugh before it starts or it happens.
Yeah, because you know it's coming. I'm like, there it is.
There's like that movie War of the Roses.
This wants me to change my bit rate, and I don't know how to do that.
Yes.
And all of a sudden there's this new. So if you guys can't see or hear, it's something to do with bit rate. It might look like really
bit rate.
So and I'm not gonna like stop and start everything all over and just to change. Yeah, I
so deal with it.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm on my second vodka and soda. So like so right there, there's.
That's a healthy meal.
So the Loudini Returns is the title of today's podcast. Loudini Strikes Back.
Ladies, Loudini's into his house.
Oh boy.
The return of the Loudini.
Illuminati, screw those guys. Loudini.
So how's everybody doing out there? Are we on?
We're on.
We're
nice.
on. So bit rate be damned.
Yeah.
So.
Damn you.
Is that like BitChute? It's like Bitcoin.
BitChute?
There's a thing called BitChute. Not BitChute. Isn't that funny? It sounds like BitChute. That sounds like that'd be a good band name, BitChute. I'm going on a BitChute tonight.
Yeah.
BitChute or Bitcoin. Bit rate.
Bit rate.
Bit rate.
How many bits per
rate
per second squared?
You just broke my brain.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
No more math.
I was unaware there was going to be math tonight.
Didn't study.
Hello, Lloyd. Okay. All right, guys. You guys ready to do a little something here?
Yeah.
Something.
Well, something.
We're still on?
We're still on.
Okay.
All right.
Because
we got people talking.
I'm seeing things freezing and stuff, so I'm just like...
It's because it's so cold outside.
Yeah, that might be it.
Baby, it's cold outside.
Wasn't that song banned?
Not on this podcast.
It was canceled. Police. However,
Police.
How many songs are not?
Did someone die?
That was Stu passing out again.
Yeah, he had some beans or something.
Oh, Lord.
Check. Okay, everybody check your microphones.
Check. Check.
Mr. Pittsburgh.
Check.
It's Mr. Pittsburgh.
Hi, kids. How yins do tonight?
Oh boy.
And let me just for gigs and shitholes.
What?
Let's get some.
That's crazy.
Get some sound effects too.
Oh, here we go.
If we're gonna
Real
be,
belchy today.
if we're gonna be
Oh,
back,
cool.
we're
Nice.
gonna be back.
Even
We got Bones Magoo in the house.
Sound check for Bones.
Bones, I didn't quite get that. Let's try that one more time, buddy. There we are. Thank you. Okay, I think I got what I need.
Uh-huh.
All right, so people can see us, people can hear us. It looks like the recording mechanism is working. So
Nice.
Mechanism.
all right, so let's go
Nice.
ahead and give this thing a swirl and see what the hell happens. In 5, 4, 3. Now listen, not all replacement musicians are hated. There are occasionally, actually like a good many times when a very successful band will end up recruiting a new member for one reason or another, and then they go on to have even bigger success. So on this week's Loudini Rock and Roll Circus podcast, we're going to discuss new additions to classic bands that made a huge difference. Get ready to rock out with your talk out. It's the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. All right, everybody, moms and dads, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus is back in town after a little bit of a hiatus. We are happy to be back here. And we've got the power trio this evening. We have Lily V6 from Rock Rage Radio.
What's up?
Say that again.
What's up?
Okay, and then we have Pittsburgh Kevin from Pittsburgh.
What's up? I'm just messing with you guys. What's up, everybody?
Excellent. So, welcome back, everyone. We're going to get into today's topic in a few minutes, but first, let's talk about let's do a little bit of housekeeping. You can find out more about the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus at loudinirockandrollcircus.com and loulombardimusic.com. Why do you want to check that out? There's a lot of cool things at loudinirockandrollcircus.com, including things like our YouTube archive, links to absolutely every place on the planet Earth, and some that are not on the planet Earth where you may be able to listen to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Links to all kind of cool things, including things like Rock Rage Radio and places like that. We have really fun and cool merch. We will be getting Bonneville T-shirts in the store. Just kidding. But so yeah, check it out at LoudiniRockandRollCircus.com. Wolf's Customs, Chris Thunderwolf Dodson. Go there to get custom paint jobs, custom artwork, etc. done on your musical instrument. We're not just talking about, painting your guitar red or something like that. What they do is do absolutely eye-catching artwork on your musical instrument. And it just looks freaking cool, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, don't you want to? One of the most important things about a guitar, Kevin and I were talking about this the other day, is that you feel cool playing it. Mm-hmm. And something with like cool artwork on it is going to feel like really cool. So if you want to feel cool, hence therefore be cool. So if you want to be cool, you want to go to wolfscustoms.online, talk to Chris Thunderwolf Dodson, Rock Rage Radio. Speaking of being really cool, Rock Rage Radio is this amazing app that you can download to go to rockrageradio.com, and it's totally free, has 24-hour, totally free, awesome music programming. It is done in a radio station format, so it's really cool to wow, I'm actually listening to a really cool, a rock station that doesn't suck. And you've got great shows like Hot Licks with Lily Six. You've got the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, and many, many more.
And it's free.
And it's absolutely free. RockRageRadio.com. And I think that I hit all the things. Our links.
I think
Rock
so.
Rage.
Yeah.
The Wolf's Customs.
Sure.
it's just sorry, the mind addles, guys. But we have a fun show for you as always. Plus, in addition, I want to hit a couple of extra topics because I saw a couple of cool movies and I started that Beatles thing on Disney Plus. So
there you go.
We're gonna maybe talk about that a little bit later as well. So here we are back once again at the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, and we are going to be getting into this right now. So we're going to start off with Lily as always, and Kevin and I will just kind of provide color commentary.
Which color?
I like chartreuse.
You like green?
Yes.
For some reason.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right, there we go.
There you are.
I had to get that out. I felt bad.
You all right?
That's good.
Oh,
It's all
boy.
out there.
Saving it up for
Stuck.
Friday night.
It was stuck. It was just stuck, and it just
Stuck there?
I just had to.
Do a little wiggle. Do a little. There it is.
I got it again.
You're gonna hurt yourself.
So,
Again.
all right, guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. Who's the first band we want to decimate, destroy, make fun out of, mock incessantly?
No.
I'm actually gonna go with the Pretenders first.
What were they pretending?
A lot of things.
Wow.
British American rock band formed in '78. The original band consisted of founder and main songwriter Chrissie Hynde, James Honeyman Scott, Pete Farndon, and Martin Chambers. After releasing 2 of the greatest rock albums of the New Wave era, the original Pretenders lineup underwent tragic events that would have permanently silenced most bands. I'm on talk with a lisp tonight, apparently.
Okay.
In less than a year, the group lost founding members Honeyman Scott and Farndon to drug-related deaths. Chrissie Hynde was determined to soldier on. She recruited few friends.
He was in the Foo Fighters.
The Foo Friends.
Not the Foo Fighters, the
Foo
Foo
Fighters.
The Foo Fighters.
Yes, rock pile guitarist Billy Bremner and big country bassist Tony Butler to record the pop hit Back on the Chain Gang, before forming a new version of the Pretenders with journeyman guitarist Robbie McIntosh and Malcolm Foster on bass in the lineup. In 1984, that version of the band released "Learning to Crawl," which stands as one of the group's greatest works. So I think it sort of applies, but I wanted to get that one out of the way.
Time the Avenger. Yeah. That is a great riff. Dun, 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 dun. That's killer.
So they had to. Chrissie felt they had to replace the ones that they lost, which in turn worked out. So for the band,
Yes.
Well, yeah, and they did. They soldiered on and did like good music.
Yeah. That's just it.
Both of those guys had serious drug problems.
Yeah.
And Chrissie was involved with the bass player in the very beginning of the Pretenders. And they had this kind of hot and heavy romance. And then I guess as they got on the road,
It cooled off.
It cooled off.
Cooled
And
off quite a bit.
I would imagine part of that is the temptations that go along with being on the road for both of them.
Sure.
Not just him or her, as well as the accessibility to substances, drugs. And a lot
which
of
is just part of the culture.
Yes, it's part of the culture. And some people are like, some people seem to be able to like chill on that, and some people they just go like drugs.
I probably would be on that train.
They're just like diving into there's like a giant bag of cocaine that
A
they're
swimming
diving
pool.
into. And
That's why I read the Bible on the road.
That's where you kept your
I'd
weed.
read, keep myself planted.
I hate you. Is that a pun? Planted, weed. Haha.
I didn't make the connection. Thanks, Mrs. Obvious.
You're welcome.
okay, and I wanted to take a quick look at some to get my mind around something real quick.
You want to take a
Oh,
quick look
you
at something?
gotta
I got
be
something for you to look
kidding.
at. Look over here.
I don't know what this is,
Look
man.
right
Is anybody else
here.
having an issue with Chrome, like not wanting to let you go to like the normal sites you always
Come on,
go to?
Chrome.
I haven't had an issue with Chrome, but I
Oh,
don't use it that often. So
Chroma.
I only use it at work.
Shite.
Give me the. I'm kind of embarrassed to say this because I can't look it up. I'm drawing a blank. The bass player, James Honeyman Scott and who?
Pete Farndon.
Pete Farndon. He was the bass player.
Bass player.
I think that's what I thought.
Okay.
So, but what had happened was she had fired Pete because they broke up, and like if this happens, your feelings are hurt. And you got to get on stage
And
play
be
this
with
music.
you have to still work with the person.
Just work with this person,
Right.
Especially in a situation like in a rock band where there's like a lot of high emotions going on. Anyways, and so he began being like, playing like really drunk, turning his bass the whole way up and refusing to turn down, like being louder than everybody.
What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Passive aggressive.
Not if
fighting
you're
on
just a
stage.
not if you're
little.
Geddy Lee. There's no problem at all.
Yeah. However,
Or Chris
regular
Squire,
band.
one of those,
yeah.
but not Pete. So it was. So he just became like they just couldn't work with. This is how Chrissie Hynde told the story. So like there's two sides to every story. There might be Pete, and I've also heard that she is a real bitch.
What?
Yeah,
There could be a third story. Who knows?
I would
story.
imagine that the truth is somewhere in between.
But we'll never know.
No.
We'll never really know. So she fired him, and then he was found dead in a bathtub, all hopped up, and that bothered her because
Well, yeah.
she felt like, but there was nothing to she was what my dad would say. She was between the shit and the stink. There was just no good. There was no good solution there. I'm gonna. Not only did I break this guy's heart, now I've got to fire him from the band, and then he goes and fucking dies. Like that's got to be like, oh man, what the fuck.
If I may, in a related note here, Shit in the Stink T-shirts will be available.
Pittsburgh Kevin's our new marketing guy.
Yeah.
Between the shit and the stink. Mm-hmm. That's going to be the name of my next album. Between the shit and the stink. Mm-hmm. Martin Chambers, though, hey, he's a trooper. He hung in there and continued as the drummer for like forever. And apparently learned his lesson regarding drugs and stuff.
Yes, good. Good.
Learned from other people's mistakes, etc.
Some people snap out of it.
Yeah. But they did, as Lily was pointing out, went on and had some really, really big songs after that. But a lot of people really, that lineup with James Honeymoon and Pete Farndon is kind of precious to me. That's when I think of the Pretenders.
Yeah,
I think of that lineup.
Got you into them.
Yeah. I mean, I got Pretenders too when I was in high school, and it just blew my mind. I was just like, it was a total revelation. So
Michael Goltz wants to say that he's not photographing shit in the stink for you.
It's $1 in it for you.
I'll give you $1.
I'll give you $1.
So okay, so that's a good pick. What's the next one that you got? We're just going to kind of riff off of yours.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
yep.
Oh, word.
Because you're the woman.
Oh, God.
We'll do a little bit different tonight.
Van Halen, credited with...
Never heard of them.
I know.
They changed?
Sorry, I keep going. I do the obscure.
They changed members?
Is this some
Couple
indie
times.
band?
Yes. Credited with restoring hard rock to the forefront of the music scene, Van Halen was known for its energetic live shows and for its virtuosic talent of its lead guitarist, Eddie Van Halen. From 1974 to 1985, Van Halen consisted of Eddie Van Halen, Eddie's brother drummer Alex Van Halen, vocalist David Lee Roth, and bassist vocalist Michael Anthony. In 1985, Roth left the band to embark on a solo career and was replaced by a very successful former Montrose lead vocalist, Sammy Hagar.
And he was also a solo artist at that time too, because he had albums like Three Lock Rocks on those records out. Yeah.
With Hagar, the group released 4 U.S. #1 multi-platinum albums over the course of 11 years. Of course, the loyal Roth Van Halen fans were sort of like on the wayside of it because, people don't like change.
Yeah, definitely don't like change.
I know, people hate it. But they didn't hate Hagar either. In fact, they did keep some of the loyal fans as well as changing their sound and music to form a whole new fan base. And now there's always that question, Van Halen or Van Hagar.
It's it's great. As much as I think David Lee Roth is just an amazing frontman and an amazing singer in his own right. He's a great singer. Let's not like that. But unless you go see him live. But no, I'm kidding. But Sammy took them where Dave could not take them.
Right.
They were not going to go and have songs like "Why Can't This Be Love" and these giant pop.
And Dave didn't want to take them there.
Right.
No, he was not going to be able to. He was not going to be able to take them there. That was not his shtick.
Holy cow.
So I think the bowling alley upstairs is open again. So they just would never have been able to do what they did. No, they could have saved Van Halen because think about how many bands like they have like a sort of cycle of albums that are really big, but then the sound in the world starts to change a bit, and they can't
Right.
They can't keep up.
Can't get into that. Yeah.
There's a few bands that can weather stuff like that. The Rolling Stones have been very good at that.
Yes.
We're very good at that through the 60s, 70s, and 80s,
80s.
and maybe even a little bit in the 90s. But but even they ran out of steam on it.
Yeah.
U2 was able to do that for maybe 2 decades. You
Yep,
know what I mean?
yep.
But most bands can't do that. And if you think about records like Women and Children First, and you think about records like Diver Down and stuff like that, and you think what they sounded like, and then you think about the rest of the 80s, like, you know what I mean? Like, where were they really? They seemed kind of.
They wouldn't have fit in.
I don't know if they would have been able to do
yeah.
anything. Maybe they would have. Maybe they wouldn't have. And maybe Eddie was very aware of that. And sometimes you got to do what you got to. Did anybody here ever like get out of a relationship by like being an asshole?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like when you don't want to break up with somebody because you don't want to
You
be
just
heavy,
become an absolute jerk.
You become impossible to be around, and they
Right.
dump you, and you're like, yes!
Yes.
And
yeah.
I kind of wonder if that wasn't something that would happen with Van Halen, like maybe, yeah, because Eddie's not stupid. He knows what sounds good. He knows what works, and he knew what he wanted to do musically. I mean, I think the album 1984 is a sort of testament to kind of like where his head was, with songs like I'll Wait and working with people like Michael McDonald and stuff like that. And Jump, of course.
Yes, yes. Hey, let me ask you something real quick, because I brought this up at work today, and I couldn't remember the vocalist's name. Who was the female vocalist that they considered?
Patti Smith.
Yeah,
Patty
that's
Smith.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, they
could not remember
Now
who it
this was after Sammy Hagar had left.
Yeah, yeah.
But in any case, no, that was not after Sammy. I apologize. That was,
after Dave.
left.
Yeah, it was after
You're
Dave.
right.
Yeah,
You're
'cause-
right.
yeah.
Eddie kicked around an idea of doing an album with like there'd be different singers.
Right,
right.
right.
Slash had did a couple records.
Yes,
Like Tony Iommi did a record like that. And that would have been really fun. Incidentally, he wrote Right Now for Joe Cocker.
Oh, interesting.
That was the song.
Okay.
That was what he
All right.
had. And if you listen to Sammy's voice, you got like, I
I
can
can
hear,
hear
a
it
little Joe
happening.
Cocker
Yeah.
kind of going on there. But that song is really high. I mean, that song is so freaking high. In any case, so that Sammy was able to take them somewhere that Dave, I don't think
Dave probably couldn't have taken them.
Couldn't have
Yeah,
taken them.
exactly.
And they were
became-
able to have a whole like brand new thing and retain a lot. Because Sam, it wasn't like they hired Lawrence Welk. They hired a guy who was a rock and roll rock.
Right,
He was in
right.
a super heavy rock band
Yeah.
from the 70s, Montrose, and his solo stuff was rock and
Yeah,
roll.
and he was a
stuff.
songwriter.
Yeah.
And yeah.
For me, it went from party to serious with the band.
Oh my!
No more messing
I
around.
don't know. I mean, they've got songs like "Spanked," which is about getting shit-faced. They've got that's a Sammy Hagar
Wait,
song.
shit-faced?
Good Enough.
thought
That's
you
about
were
getting
spanked.
down and dirty. So
I know. I mean, there's still the party songs, but it got just a little more serious with all the love.
the love. Well, they did. They did some
Well,
love
so,
songs.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which we all enjoy.
So far we have talked about Van Halen
And the Pretenders.
and the
The
Pretenders.
Pretenders.
The Pretenders. That was like you came out strong, Lily, with the Pretenders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you threw me because I wasn't expecting you
about
to
it?
come out with the Pretenders, but that was I gotta
Yeah,
hand it to
that
you.
was-
Oh,
like
well,
some of
welcome.
these are super obvious. We're gonna talk about. I think we're gonna talk about Iron Maiden, AC/DC, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
but,
sure.
there's some of them are like
But
very,
boy,
very obvious.
to
But
start
the
out with the
Pretenders is
Pretenders.
like, nice move there, nice
Lily. I
move.
see what you did there.
Nice, I see what you did there.
Well,
Exactly.
I'm glad you enjoyed that one.
Yeah, no. So thanks for doing that. If we got anybody watching, you want to say?
We do have Michael Goltz watching for sure.
Hi,
He's
Mike.
got a lot to say today. He stopped listening to Comfortably Numb on repeat on Sirius just to listen to Lou's podcast.
Thank you.
And you know how important you are if he stops listening to that.
Thank you.
Wolf and Raven are watching. Carrie Livingstone is welcoming us back.
Hey, Carrie.
Todd Kane says, I'm fucking here.
Hey, Todd. Thank you.
Hey,
Todd
I'm
sent me-
fucking here.
Todd sent me a really nice message last week. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And that's all who's watching right now that I can see.
I
Because
appreciate
those who
you
are
guys.
talking.
Thank you.
Look at
So let's get it. So what are we going to go over next?
So we're just going to go ahead and talk about Iron Maiden so I can
Do
get
it.
Bruce Dickinson out of the way.
Do it.
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden.
hell.
Hold on.
Anyway, beginning back in 75, Iron Maiden have certainly put in the hard yards in order to be considered one of the most influential and most revered heavy metal groups of all time. I don't know why you're doing that.
Wow.
However, it seems their success has been largely dependent on the presence of singer Bruce Dickinson.
Just that dick.
I did. After releasing 2 albums in the early 80s with the original singer Paul Di'Anno, they gave him the boot. By 81, Di'Anno was demonstrating increasingly self-destructive behavior, drug usage, of course, and Di'Anno says it wasn't just that I was snorting a bit of coke, though I was just going for it nonstop, 24 hours a day, every day. Yes, the pool of coke. The band had
Diving in. That's what the sound was. That was Lily diving
There
into a
it is.
giant bowl of Coke.
free fall, swan dive. The band had commitments piling up that went on for months.
Lily doesn't do cocaine. That was a joke.
I don't. I don't do. I drink.
Disclaimer.
He couldn't see his way to the end of doing the drugs and getting all the things the band needed to do together. He knew he'd never last the whole tour. It was too much. With his performance waning, Di'Anno was immediately dismissed following the Killer World Tour, at which point the band had already selected his replacement. After a meeting with Rod Smallwood at the Reading Festival, Bruce Dickinson...
She said Smallwood.
I did. Previously of Samson, auditioned for Iron Maiden in September 81 and was immediately hired. Why not listen to that voice? Oh my gosh. His first release with the group was The Number of the Beast, widely regarded as one of the best heavy metal albums of all time.
Or heavy metal.
Yes. After a 12-year stint, though, Dickinson left the group only to be replaced by Blaze Finnegan. Finnegan's 2 years in the group resulted in 2 albums.
I cannot tell you anything of that.
Neither could I. Often touted as the group's worst.
I actually know more Paul Di'Anno's music than I do that. Absolutely.
Yeah. After being told to take a hike, they re-recruited Dickinson and haven't let him go since, and that is the best move ever.
I mean, come on. I mean, Iron Maiden without Bruce Dickinson. Come on. That's like
It's
Kraft
not real.
macaroni and cheese without the cheese.
It's not real
Right.
life.
It's like, come on. What do you even do? It's like, come on.
What's
no.
this crap?
It's like, just
It
don't.
would be crap macaroni and
Poop.
They're just going out playing their hits. They're not trying to put out any new music. But Iron Maiden really wasn't done at that point. They were like still like trying to put out music.
To stir up.
So like, no, just calm down. I mean, Jeff Tate. I mean, maybe
That's
dips
close.
his toes, and the dude from Dream Theater sometimes can get into a little bit of that territory. But I mean, Bruce is in a class all by himself. There's like he's in the Bruce Dickinson category. There's nobody else that does what he does.
That's it.
Yeah. So it's just like, what kind of music do you sing, Bruce? I sing Bruce Dickinson music. Oh,
Oh, okay.
that's the only music I do. I tried to learn, other music, but I couldn't sing Ronnie James Dio music. I can only do Bruce Dickinson.
He has tried to do other stuff, and it just does not sound right.
There is a record that I've heard once in a while, like Jim Florentine. He has a great show on. I shouldn't be plugging other people's stuff, but I fucking love Florentine's show on Ozzy
great.
Boneyard, and it's called Metal Midgets. And
Oh,
it's exactly like that.
Boy.
But he will play like stuff you just never hear, and he's played occasionally stuff from that, and it sounds so like out of place.
It doesn't work for me.
It just he doesn't sound, and it's like the song. I think that the songs are good. Like I'm like, that's a cool song, but like
It's not-
like there'd be a great song for like Mitch Malloy or somebody like that to sing. It's got that more rock and roll kind of thing. His thing is like
The
Bruce
melodic,
that doesn't work. with that.
operatic.
Yeah,
wonderfulness.
A lot of It's not operatic. It's just he's really heavy on the way he does his vibrato.
But that's
he's
just how I
he's
hear
got that
it.
classical training kind of thing going on, and there's just no way. But the Paul Di'Anno Iron Maiden I think is really cool. You could tell that like the band isn't quite there because you know what I mean. It has a different character to it, but I like you can hear their punk rock influence.
Yeah.
That's something that people don't realize that Iron Maiden has a punk rock influence. They liked punk. And with Paul as a singer, he's more of a punk kind of singer, it's really interesting. It's like this is like kind of cool, and you kind of wonder like what they might have developed. They would have been a different band, but you kind of wonder like what that could have would have been. I mean, Bruce is so amazing. He was going to make it anyhow. Like Samson could have ended up being a really big band. But that name is terrible. But that's awful. What's the movie that they're in? Every once in a while, it's a cheesy like '80s horror movie, and all of a sudden they're in a club, and you hear this voice like that's like Bruce Dickinson, and that's him, and it's Samson.
Now I have to look it up because I do know this, and it's
it always catches me by surprise. Like, oh, that's right, that's who's in this. Like I always forget it. It's a cheesemo. It's a cheesemo movie. It has to
Survey
be.
says. Nope,
Jeez,
not ready yet.
Still looking it
it's
up.
not coming up yet.
Still looking.
So while we're waiting on that, let's maybe I don't know. No.
What the?
That scared the crap out of me.
Lou, stop it.
I know. Phew. It's good to be back, everybody. It's really good to be back in
We
podcast.
missed you. Ladies and gentlemen.
Incubus. Is that the movie you mean?
Maybe it is.
Okay.
Maybe it is.
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh well.
I don't know. It's
I don't want to take 100 years to find it.
it's irrelevant.
Yes.
Okay.
It is your reason.
irrelevant.
He snorted. That's great.
Oh boy.
Oh, so anyway, so I think that's a good pick. I would like to talk about briefly about a band that I really love.
Go.
And
Do I?
these guys were very very cavalier. You kind of never knew who was going to be on one record to the next.
Okay.
But the thing was, they had big records, no matter what, no matter who was in the band for a while. Okay, and I would like to talk about the band Rainbow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Rainbow is a band that sort of was spawned from the leftovers of Deep Purple. Of course, Ritchie Blackmore and Roger Glover eventually. I don't know if he was in the beginning, but he did eventually play bass on a couple of records with them. But it is a hard rock band that got started in about 1975, and the original singer for this band is none other than Hook'em Horns himself, Ronnie James Dio, the original singer.
The original one.
The original singer, and they did arguably like some of their best work with him, including Rising, Long Live Rock and Roll. This was before, of course, before Dio had anything to do with Black Sabbath. But the band didn't last with him more than I think by 3 albums. What happened was Ritchie Blackmore, who's basically the leader there. Ritchie Blackmore's the lead guitar player from Deep Purple. He was he told Ronnie James Dio told him, says, "Look, I'll be in your band, but like we don't sing any like love songs or songs about relationships.
Sure.
We don't do
We don't do that here.
We don't do that here.
Yeah.
You like that? That you go someplace else for that." And they were like, "Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to do any of that." And then after they released their 3rd album, I believe, with Ronnie James Dio, Ritchie Blackmore was in the press saying, "Yeah, the next album's gonna have like relationship songs and maybe some ballads and stuff like that." And Dio was like, "Yeah, I'm not. I'm done.
Nope.
Peace.
Bye. I'm out."
See ya.
He left. And but so this isn't all about Ronnie James Dio. But in any case, and then they brought in a really amazing singer who I really wish they would have done more with, and I think they wanted to do more with, but. He's a great voice, but I think that Ritchie never kind of like latched on to him or could figure out how to write songs from. But they had big hits like "Since You've Been Gone" with Graham Bonnet on lead vocals. Oh, I know what it was too. Ritchie was unsure of Graham's look. You know, at this time, Rainbow still had the sort of like long hair, kind of hippie kind of look. Graham had short hair, wore like a kind of a
suit,
kind of like a
but
you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Gresham
okay,
Smith
yeah,
on stage,
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of more of like a pop kind of look, and he was under the impression, well, that's what we're going for, so like I should like portray that,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there
didn't
was a
work
lot
out.
of alcohol and drugs involved, but they had
That's
They,
not
I
a
mean,
thing.
they had a big record with him. Like Since You've Been Gone is a song that you still hear on the radio every single day.
Yeah.
You know, just like Man on the Silver Mountain, which was a Dio song that Rainbow did with them. You hear that about every single day. Okay, so then
what happened?
Then
Lou, tell me.
they bring in this guy who has worked with everybody, including Yngwie, Lily, Joe Lynn Turner.
Yes.
And they had even bigger songs when they got on MTV. It was a whole thing. They were really able to kind of, and so he just kept on. Richie Blackmore just kept on like evolving the band, and as the band evolved, he realized it had to have a different like face, a different persona, like in front of it. Which, if you think about it, it's kind of pretty fucking brilliant. It's like a pretty
Brilliant.
And it's pretty, and they were really, they had big records. They, it's not like they got a singer. We don't like this guy, and they turn the radio off. No, big records, big records. So, I think that you could definitely put Rainbow on a list like this because just what they were able to, what basically Richie Blackmore was able to accomplish with his accomplices. No matter who his accomplice was,
It worked.
he was able to do it. I mean, it's pretty freaking amazing. Richie's an amazing guitar player, and there has been rumors that Rainbow is going to do something, but we shall see. We shall see. What do you got, Lily V6?
I got Pantera.
Penn and Teller.
Not Penn and
Not
Teller.
Penn and Teller. I would like to
Penn
see
and
them.
Teller Terra.
Yes.
Wow, that would be interesting.
Panera.
Panera.
Pantera bread.
Delicious.
I say that all the time.
So do I.
Every time I go, Pantera bread.
Wow, that sounds like me.
I'm scared.
It's terrifying. Unbeknownst to most lovers of metal, Pantera began life as a glam metal band, and if you have heard some of their stuff, they sounded like they were going to be like Poison. And they could have been one of the biggest influences of Poison. However, after vocalist Terry Glaze left in '86, the group brought in Phil Anselmo as their new singer and released Power Metal in 1988. You can hear some of their horrible glam metal stuff in movies like, I think it's The Paper Brigade.
Oh.
Stuff like that. The addition of Anselmo led to the group beefing up their sound, and their second album with him, 1990's Cowboys from Hell, brought Pantera to the spotlight.
Of course.
The album popularized the groove metal genre, while in 1992 follow-up, Vulgar Display of Power, which we've talked about on the show many times, achieved an even heavier sound. Far Beyond Driven debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. Yes, after these increasingly successful albums, 2003 saw the breakup of Pantera, and 2004 saw the murder of guitarist Dimebag Daryl.
I thought Damage Plan was a good band, by the way.
They were.
I think it's a cool band.
Yeah. Anselmo is these days the vocalist of a band called Down, but he's not quite hit the heights that he did with Pantera again. He gave them the start to their signature sound that we know today and was part of their best-known lineup. So, yes. I'm glad they changed from glam metal because I don't think it would have worked out so well.
No.
They were known as like they were so their glam metal band on movies was called the Green Mummies, but they were Pantera, but they called themselves the Green Mummies.
Huh.
Because when I looked them up, when you look up the Green Mummies, you're like, wait a minute,
Wait a
this is
second.
Pantera.
Hold on now.
I like the band Down. I bought the first album. I have it somewhere on CD. Somewhere on CD, I have Down syndrome. That's what they should have called. They should have called their next album Syndrome.
Wow,
Nice.
fired.
Wow. Sir.
And they from New Orleans.
Nolans.
Sludge metal and southern rock, stoner metal. Like southern metal, like these guys. I really like the band that Zakk Wylde formed in between like the two Ozzy albums that he did, called Pride and Glory.
Oh yeah.
And Down definitely is like kind of in that kind of vein. You know, Corrosion of Conformity kind of works in there as well. But if you haven't heard a Down record, you should check them out. You know, it's
I'm down with that.
super heavy, sludgy. Rock and roll, cool riffs. Sabbath. I mean, basically, when you go back and you listen to, the Sabbath, first albums, when those songs that are like super heavy and slow. I mean, like they were kind of inventing sludge right there, or doom. Sludge. There's a great doom sludge band from that kick my ass if I call them the wrong thing.
Don't do it.
If I call them doom or sludge, if I say that they're sludge, actually doom, or if I say they're
right.
they're actually sludge.
Oh,
Molasses Barge are really good.
Oh, I love them.
This is a really good band.
I play them on my show.
Kevin, you got to see this guy's guitar rig.
Yeah,
it's like stupid.
Is he stupid?
I mean stupid in like the best,
the good way.
He's playing some whacked out guitar. I can't remember what kind of guitar he's playing, but he's playing like an old like Selmer amp.
Well,
and he's got pedals on the floor, and they're probably $30 there. You know what I mean? Just like, and he's like, told me I just play whatever I like. I don't care what what it looks like or what the cost is. And man, like, dude, his sound was like insane. I was like, what the fuck sound are you making? It was insane. And it was like no like trickery. It was just him playing,
Here.
Well, they just played their last show ever. So.
Oh,
what?
Bummer.
Yeah, at Kativo.
Anyways, guys, go check them out. They've got tracks on Spotify and stuff. But it's nice, big and heavy, sludgy, doomy, sludgy, doomy, sludgy. Doomy sludgy, baby.
Oh my
God. Baby, do me a
Shaka.
sludgy, man. I like my sludgy shaking, not stirred.
My whole brain just hurts sometimes.
Wow.
So I'm in
I
rare
love you guys,
form. I've
but-
been off. I didn't think I could do this. You know what I mean? I didn't.
This
think
just
that,
comes naturally, like
Yeah,
riding
so
a
I-
bike.
And guess what?
acting like
Back
an
in the
idiot.
saddle. You're back in the saddle again.
It's the easiest thing to do is act like a moron.
Yeah, you see, it comes so
Unless
naturally.
you try too hard to do it.
So there's we got a whole bunch. What do you got next? Lily?
AC/DC.
Never heard of them.
I know.
Not a fan.
All the bands you
Is that a
haven't heard
new
of.
band?
No.
Ha!
AC/DC's fame both here and abroad is legendary. From the early days as a costume-wearing glam rock group, they were destined for greatness, with everyone except Angus Young dropping the costume angle due to the Skyhooks doing the same thing, which was another band. The group kicked out singer Dave Evans and brought in Bon Scott. Their career with Scott lasted 6 years, and produced legendary songs like Highway to Hell, TNT, and It's a Long Way to the Top, which we all know, all the songs. And then sadly, Bon Scott died from alcohol poisoning in 1980, and the group recruited Brian Johnson as their new singer. Returning with Back in Black the same year, the group saw phenomenal success to the point where it is still the second best-selling album of all time, and they are still making records.
Yeah, they are.
Because they just released one, what was it, 2 years ago? A year ago now? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But that's one of the bands that really...
It's a pretty good record. It's
Oh, it's amazing.
It's not bad. Yeah, it's
pretty good.
AC/DC.
The thing with AC/DC is they have not changed their sound
No.
Yeah.
the entire time they have been together, and
doesn't get
it
old.
works.
Yeah, it doesn't get
People
old.
love it.
Yeah.
So even with the two lead singer lineup changes, and we are not going to count that other guy. They've been super successful. So even with Brian Johnson, and we're not going to talk about the guy from the GNR.
Blues-driven, guitar-based rock and roll, and that's why it does. That's why.
Yeah, they
And they're nice boys.
They are nice boys. I've seen them once.
I'm still deaf from that night. What, 15 years ago or whatever.
I saw them in Miami.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I hear that they're very loud. I've never heard them, but
They are
I should
so
probably have heard them.
loud.
I think when they play Starlake, I think you can hear it out here.
I saw them with an ex-boyfriend that was like this the whole night.
Yo, fuck that fucker.
I'm like,
Sorry,
seriously?
I said it.
Go away.
Yeah.
Just leave. I'll see you after the show.
Trying to find the
Mr. Goodbar.
no, there's a third young brother, and
Oh.
he did something, and I'm trying to find.
Did he?
I'm
Oh,
not.
brother. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was older than them,
yeah, he
right?
was an older guy, and he worked
Yeah.
with them as like a producer or
Yeah.
something. And I was trying to pull up his information here, and I just I couldn't. Find
Chrome. Chrome.
Anyway, so we're gonna just kind of get off of that, but yeah, of course. I mean, they had, and what's so interesting is they did that they did Highway to Hell, which is with the first time they worked with Mutt Lange, and they were really excited with the kind of sound and everything they were going to, and then that happened, and they were really didn't know what they were going to do, but they had known Brian. He was like a kind of a guy that they had known. And so he came in, and then they do Back in Black, which is really like, so you hear the sort of beginnings of that on Highway to Hell, and then Back in Black is like they refined it,
Right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
They really totally honed it, and then of course they did, from there on, For Those About to Rock and on all those great records. Brian has both these guys have very distinctive voices.
Yes.
For sure.
In the same vein, in the same way that Bruce Dickinson has a very distinctive voice. You know him instantly. You know Bon Scott instantly. And you know Brian Johnson instantly. You just do. Their sound is, and again, like I was making the joke about, Bruce Dickinson can only sing Bruce Dickinson music, but you ever hear a band and go like, oh yeah, they're doing like an AC/DC song?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not
music.
and I mean, it could be like Kicks. Like a lot of these bands have these songs that have the band Thunder. A lot of these bands have these songs that are kind of like, and you go, oh, that's like kind of an AC/DC thing. Like there's like an AC/DC's kind of like its own musical style.
Yeah.
Yes.
Locally, Gene the Werewolf sounds like AC/DC to me.
Very much so.
AC/DC influence for sure.
Because I thought the first time I heard them, is that AC/DC? I'm not sure. And then I had to look them up, and I'm like, oh, that's a local band. That's pretty cool. This was several years ago.
That's a good example.
Yeah,
if you guys do not know Gene the Werewolf, you definitely should check them out. They're like, they're just fucking badass.
They're fun,
and they're from our hometown.
Yeah,
great band. But AC/DC, they just have that, and it's somehow what I think. I think Malcolm wrote a lot of the riffs. I'm sure Angus does too, but they seem to have, like Led Zeppelin and Van Halen had certain approaches to riffs. Like Jimmy Page was doing stuff like with the blues scale, like kind of on the low strings, and that's how we would come up with that. And then like Eddie did his thing with like a lot of like open string things. So in other words, these riffs are kind of like single string kind of ideas that, single note ideas, whereas Angus and Malcolm, their riffs are chords. They do these things with the chords. The way they move the chords around in a rhythmic way is the riff, which is really cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
Really, really cool. And it's cool when somebody can do that. There is an example of a song by, there's a song by Tom Petty, of all people, that has that chord riff thing in it, but it does not sound like AC/DC, and it's free falling. Go back and listen to what the riff is. It's just it's 3 chords changes. But it's that same approach of let's make a riff out of the chords,
just minus the distortion.
Yeah,
but think about it. You're absolutely right.
But it's kind of a different kind of song. But he uses that same concept. But AC/DC has this syncopated things, while the drums the whole time are really giving you the 4 on the floor. So that's what makes it gives it that awesome groove. And Brian just is an amazing singer. I mean, he hasn't had too many problems either. He had that one brief thing where he got tinnitus, so bad they said you're going to go deaf. So he took a break, and Axl Rose stepped in. And well, wait a minute here. Like, first of all, people are like when we did the hated replacements or whatever. Yeah. He wasn't replacing anybody in the band. He was helping the band out so they could continue to tour.
I know.
And I think it would be kind of a cool show to say, like, shit, man, I saw Axl Rose with AC/DC. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. So I think it'll be kind of a memorable experience. But in any case, Brian has been very consistent with them, since
for a long ass time.
Yeah, long time.
As old as I am.
It's good stuff. Do you have who do you have next on your list?
I was going to talk about Phil Collins. I mean Genesis. That's what I meant.
That's fine.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. The group were formed as schoolboys back in whatever year, 68. In the 70s lineup featuring singer Peter Gabriel and guitarist Steve Hackett. I can't talk tonight.
Petey? I thought you were going to say
Gabriel.
Petey Gabriel.
Petey Gabriel. They probably did call him that. You made me lose my space.
Petey Gabriel over there singing.
They were among the pioneers of progressive rock. Their live shows began to feature Gabriel's theatrical costumes and performances.
Gay.
Foxtrot was their first hit in the UK, and Selling England by the Pound reached number 3 there, featuring their first US hit, I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe. The concept album The Lamb Dies Down on Broadway was promoted with a transatlantic tour and an elaborate stage show before Gabriel left the group. Having failed to find a suitable vocalist for the new album, Collins went into the studio and attempted to sing Squonk. His performance was well received by the band, and they decided that he should be their new vocalist. Collins then sang on the remaining tracks, and he took over as lead singer. As the group released A Trick of the Tail and Wind and Wuthering, I can't even say it right, A Trick of the Tail and Wind and Wuthering, with continued success. Who would have thought that a lead vocalist would be the drummer as well? Because that's weird, because, usually the drummer's like hiding in the back, doing his thing. As the backbone of the band. Their ninth studio album, and then there were 3, contained the band's first major hit, Follow You, Follow Me, which I love. The next 5 albums were also successful, with between 100 million and 150 million albums sold worldwide. Genesis are one of the world's best-selling music artists.
There's a, if you see, there's a, I don't know if it's a behind the music or something, but with Phil Collins, it's really, it's one of those things you go, oh my God. This guy and this band had so many big songs. I mean, huge. Yeah. And again, this is a thing where Phil Collins kind of took them where Peter Gabriel couldn't take them.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Peter went on to be hugely successful as a solo artist in his own right.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But he, Phil was able to do something that Peter Gabriel couldn't do. I love that in between period with songs like Abacab and stuff like that that are, they're leaning, they're starting to get more into pop direction, but they still got some of that long form, like Abacab's a real long song, it's like 7 minutes or something like that. When they were still kind of in that in between period. I think that's a really fun period. But there's so many great Genesis songs. It's really quality stuff.
I find there's a lot of those on my phone iPod. Because I have downloaded so many, just because I've listened to them randomly, and I think I probably have more of those songs than I have Aerosmith on my phone, which is hysterical.
Yeah. And then of course Phil Collins goes on to have a giant solo career, but never leaves Genesis. Then Genesis will get back together.
Yeah,
that's the Genesis album.
I want to do something. Yeah, let's do it.
They were never pissy about it, because Mike Rutherford went and did Mike and the Mechanics with the dude from Paul Carrick from Squeeze. And they had a big record.
Yeah,
everybody had big records.
Sure.
Because that just goes to show you that that's talent.
Yeah,
these are guys that know how to write songs. They know what the hell they're doing. And it was a different era, but nonetheless, that's a great pick, Lily. Phil, Peter Gabriel, and then Phil Collins.
I love me some Genesis.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's a really good one.
Is there anyone specific you want to talk about that?
Did you want to talk about Pink Floyd?
I have Pink Floyd.
Let's wrap up with some Pink Floyd.
Okay.
For Fran Crasher, we know how much he loves Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd.
This is for Michael Goltz.
Earned early distinction.
Anytime I post anything about Pink Floyd,
he gets mad.
He gets pissed off.
Wow.
Earned early distinction as a late '60s psychedelic pop outfit masterminded by Syd Barrett, driving force behind the band with the Piper. In December 1967, reaching a crisis point with Barrett, Pink Floyd added guitarist David Gilmour as the 5th member. Gilmour had already known Barrett. He studied with him at Cambridge in the early 60s, and the two had performed at lunchtimes together, doing harmonica and guitars and, what boys do at lunch at school, I suppose. I don't know.
Harmonica.
Sure.
Yeah.
Morrison's assistant, Steve O'Rourke, set Gilmour up in a room at O'Rourke's house with a salary of £30 per week, which would be £500 in 2019. In January 1968, Black Hill Enterprises announced Gilmour as the band's newest member, intending to continue with Barrett as a non-performing songwriter, because he was losing his mind.
Just a little.
According to Jenner, the group planned that Gilmour would cover for Barrett's eccentricities. When this proved unworkable, it was decided that Barrett would just write material. In an expression of his frustration, Barrett, who was expected to write additional hits to follow up Arnold Layne and See Emily Play, instead introduced Have You Got It Yet to the band, intentionally changing the structure on each performance so as to make the song impossible to follow and learn, so the other band members couldn't deal with it.
No, and then it goes
passive aggressive.
No. You might think it would repeat here, but no. Now we go to a key of E flat. No. Now there's a diminish on the 7th, and just continually okay. Fired.
Working with Barrett eventually proved too difficult, and matters came to a conclusion in January while en route to a performance in Southampton. When a band member asked if they should collect Barrett, according to Gilmour, the answer was, nah, let's not bother.
This guy's a pain in the ass.
Do you want me to pick him up? No.
Signaling the end of Barrett's tenure with Pink Floyd. Waters later said he was our friend, but most of the time we just wanted to strangle him. In March of '68, Pink Floyd met with business partner Jenner and King to discuss the band's future, and Barrett agreed to leave. This version of Pink Floyd would meddle with all sorts of sonic experience before hitting gold with The Dark Side of the Moon, and other progressive rock epics filled out the rest of the band's remarkable 70s run. So, yeah. Poor Sid.
Sid's sitting there on his couch waiting for the limo.
He's still waiting.
The fuck are
He
you
might
doing?
be. No.
Yeah, he might.
He's watching Emily play. It is so. It's such a crazy story. You know, every time I think of Sid Barrett, I think about that line from A Day in the Life. He blew his mind out in a car.
Yeah, basically.
You know, I mean, this is a guy that just like he just was like he was out there, and then drugs, you know, helped him go get really out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He lost.
the other guy like that was Peter Green.
Yeah,
You know, which made me think of we could have talked about Fleetwood
Mac.
easy.
Yeah.
You know, those guys had multiple. There's the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac. There's the Bob Welsh Fleetwood Mac, but they had a big record, and then of course the
Lindsay.
Buckingham Nicks stuff. Isn't it interesting that every time they get rid of Lindsey Buckingham, they can't do shit.
No matter who they
Isn't
bring.
that something?
You know, they got Mike Campbell in the band.
Mike
now,
Campbell.
and he's good, but they have to bring another guitar player in because Mike can't play all the stuff.
Yeah.
Every time they do that, when they did that in the they did that for a brief period in the 80s. Yeah, and you know what? They needed 2 guitar players. Every time they got to get 2 guitar players
Because nobody can handle him.
Because he's a freaking monster.
Yeah.
I mean, that should tell you everything about what a guitar player Lindsey Buckingham is. Yep. If he leaves the band, you have to get 2 guys because it's not going to work. But in any case, so Fleetwood Mac would have been another one. Pink Floyd, what can I say? I mean, that, you know, they definitely would never have been like comfortably numb and all that stuff with Sid Barrett. That he was not.
He was lost in space.
Yeah, he would never. You know, so. This turned into, you know, they were able to go into their next phase, you know, without him, you know. So, you know, minus his craziness. But yeah, guys, very cool stuff. Any more comments before I move on to the last couple things I want to go over?
Michael Goltz. Sid frying his mind is what made Pink Floyd the band they were in the 70s. Most everything Pink Floyd did after Gilmour joined the band is basically Waters dealing with the loss of his friend.
Right.
And that's
a good point. Yeah, thank you for adding that, Mike. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. That was like big on their minds.
Oh, Bon Scott Rules by Todd Kane. Tracy Sampson's watching.
Cool.
And there's some relationship stuff that I'm not reading.
Okay.
Metallica fired Dave Mustaine before they were even famous. Yeah, I had them on there too, but that was a very small section.
Well, I mean, you think too, you know, the Rolling Stones, you know, bringing Ronnie Wood in, you know, you know, so there's times where that, you know, you just got to make a change, you know, and it works really, really well because you know, you trust your instincts and stuff like that. So a couple of things here real quick. Go to LoudiniRockAndRollCircus.com. Go to wolfscustoms.online and go to rockrageradio.com and download the app. Do all those things.
All the things.
Yeah. Every single one.
I'm going to hold my breath until you do. No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So
maybe not.
Speaking of the Beatles.
Beatles.
And I don't know if anybody out there in podcast land has watched this yet. It's long. It's like 6 hours. It's a 3-part series on Disney Plus, and it is it's basically kind of like the last or one of the last things the Beatles like really ever did. Mm-hmm. And they had something like 3 weeks to write 14 songs, record them, and go play a gig playing all these new songs.
Right.
And this is them in the studio working, you know, trying to write these songs. And the little conversations, Peter Jackson really should get an Academy Award for this, because he went and remastered all this, digitized all when you look at the video, it's not grainy. It looks like it was shot
I was
yesterday.
wondering how it would look. Yeah.
Now, it looks amazing.
Is it color or black and white?
Oh, it's a color. And
is it really?
It is like, it's like high definition. It's like insane.
Wow.
And You can see the hairs right up John Lennon's nose. But
wow,
magic.
There's just all these magic moments of these songs, and you hear them kind of just noodling around. And that's the long and winding road.
Exactly right.
Like, and he's just like, dun, dun. No, and he's changing. No, that's not the right chord. Oh, there it is. And then it's like the long and winding road. You're like, what?
Yeah.
And that's just that's what these guys did. That was their day job, was to go into studio and write songs.
Yeah.
So you got to, and here's the real kick in the pants. None of them were 30.
Oh boy.
Whoa.
George Harrison was 26 years old when the Beatles broke up.
Holy cow.
I mean, that's insane. That's what like monster musicians these guys were. Also, you start to realize what a great piano player both Paul McCartney is and John Lennon. Both really good. They both sit, there's both the segments of them sitting down at the piano writing stuff, and it's just absolutely amazing. There is tons and tons of goofing off. Like singing songs and stupid voices, and like these guys have so much musical knowledge because they had played in clubs, they had to play all kind of songs and everything, and they just would burst into like some folky, skiffly kind of thing, and then they'd play just give me that rock and roll, and they would just like just to kind of blow off steam, and the whole time they're coming up with stuff, and it's all very intimate. And then it builds as they go because they start complaining about the sound. They're like, "This sucks. Can we get better microphones?" And they pretty soon they bring a PA system in. It's bigger and bigger and bigger. But I've only seen the first episode. It's very long. It is also primarily for music nerds. So if you're a music nerd like we are,
or a Beatles lover, maybe,
or a Beatles lover, like you're gonna be like really, you're gonna be like just really fascinated with it. You can kind of like. It's so dense that like you can kind of watch some of it, kind of half watching it, and like I was changing strings on guitars and everything while I had it on, because it isn't like a hardcore like narrative. It's literally like the camera's on and you're just kind of, it's like a kind of voyeuristic kind of thing. You're kind of just like eavesdropping, while they're doing their thing and just kind of spying on what they're doing. It's very, very cool. Yoko Ono is in it. Linda
is Linda in it too?
She's in it. She's not married to Paul yet. She's their photographer, and she's in there taking pictures and stuff like that. Yoko is very well behaved
at this point.
The whole time. There is a really funny scene at the end, and I this is spoiler alert, but I think this is knowledge. Everybody knows that like all of them had quit the band at one point or another.
Right.
And this was George Harrison's turn.
Is that when he just
he got pissed
and it was
off.
very civil, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like fuck you guys. It was just like. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
that was it. Like, has George left? Yeah.
Like he wrote in his diary something like, went down to the pub and had some biscuits and quit the Beatles.
I kind of wish like I was that easygoing.
But when they don't know what to do, so they get back and they come back in for lunch and George isn't there, so they just start screwing around.
Right.
And Yoko gets on the microphone and starts going, and they're just laughing and being goofy
because they have no idea that's what's to come.
Oh boy, that's my whole brain.
No idea. Well, I think like when you see her there, and nobody seems the lightest bit encumbered by her.
Well,
like not at all. Like she doesn't talk. She's just kind of sitting there, and I think it kind of goes to like this thing that like Yoko Ono broke up the Beatles is a fallacy. I mean, when you look at this, like she's like, okay, I know it sounds kind of sexist when I say well behaved, but I just mean that she's not like saying like, nah,
she's not Janine.
Yeah,
she's not Janine.
Yeah.
She's not giving her input on what the band should be doing.
This is John's band, and they've done just great without her input, and she doesn't really need to get in on any of that.
Well, there was I listened to some interviews with Paul regarding this series, and he was really worried that it would come off that he broke up the band. And Peter Jackson's like, let me just go through it, and then after it was all done, Pete texted him and said, I think you're going to be really happy with it. And Paul was. He goes, no, it was just four blokes having a good time, and he was very pleased with it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing you see, other than. Like, and especially when George Harrison quits, it isn't even like a big thing, and you're kind of like, well, what? Because it's not like American bands that like, fuck you, asshole. You know what I mean? Smash and
taking
shit.
my mic.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
They're British gentlemen.
And this is my cord, and I'm taking it off.
These are mic cables.
Yeah,
exactly, right?
So there's like none of that going on at all.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
there's a lot of funny. There's a lot of humor in it. These guys were just like four dudes just screwing around, and because they wrote songs all day, they got really good at it.
Even though they were basically breaking up, this was it for them. They were still friends.
What I heard was that because after that they went back and re-recorded the songs for what became the album called Abbey Road. And that Paul McCartney was being a real stickler about not wanting to do a lot of overdubs. He wanted to get all the performances right, and it was so tense. They got really frustrated. That's where they were kind of like, Paul's going to be like this. We kind of don't want to do this. But if you get a chance, check it out. It's really interesting. So I wanted to throw that one at you guys. Also, I saw Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes,
we all did. So
yes.
let's go around in a sentence or so, kind of say what you thought. Pittsburgh Kevin.
Heard a review of it. The reviewer did not like it because he thought it wasn't in the same vein as the original Ghostbusters, meaning the campy 80s. And it wasn't. It was much better. I think it had a lot of humor in it, but I think it had kind of a more mature side to it too.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend it. If you love the first Ghostbusters, not the remake with the female actors. Not that there's anything wrong with
not
that.
Not that there's anything wrong.
There's anything wrong. I love Kristen Wiig. I love
You love all the ladies.
I love all
we
the
know.
ladies. But
I loves me some ladies.
I do love me some ladies. But I think that this was, I highly recommend it. If you love the originals, please go see this. Lily?
I also loved this movie for all the little Easter eggs that were in it. So
Yes.
watch out for stuff like that. And I'm already sort of in like a downer type of mood, and it kind of made me weepy towards some parts.
Oh.
So I was just like, I started to tear
too.
up like a jerk, but I did love it. I do recommend it. I think it does it justice for the whole franchise.
I think that they did it the right way, and the new characters are really likable.
Yeah.
They're really believable. You're really with them. You really get into it with them. And the way that what they did with the older characters, the way they kind of paid. Where like the way they just kind of it was just the way they brought them into the story.
They did it right.
Was done in a really cool way. And you must watch the credits
all the way to the end.
Wait till all the way to the end.
I didn't see the very end.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, there's more.
There's more.
Yes.
But in any case, there is a mid-credit thing that happens.
Right.
Because it goes, they say certain person's names in the movie.
And you're like, wait a minute,
I'm
I
like,
didn't
they're
know
not
that
that
person.
person.
Who-
And
was
then
that
like,
person
that
in there?
And
And
that
there
person
they
shows
are.
up.
Yeah.
In the partway through the credits.
But
That was great.
there is
Yeah, but
way
wait till the
more at the
very
very
end of the
end.
credits.
I'm gonna have to go see it again now.
Right.
Yes, you will.
I will say that I thought that it dragged in a few places.
Yeah.
I wanted them to kind of get the stuff a little bit quicker. I thought the movie. I think you could have removed 10 minutes, and it would have been a lot tighter.
I kind of know where you're going with that.
Yep.
Which scenes.
But it was cool. It was great. Paul Rudd.
Oh my God, I love
sure.
him.
Who doesn't like Paul Rudd?
He's good in
Even if-
everything.
he's just he just looks like the most likable dude.
And
love him,
he's
man.
obviously drank from the fountain of youth as well.
Yeah. What is he, like 75 years old now? He still looks like he's 26?
Seems like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember him in Clueless. Hello.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
110 years ago.
Wow.
Oh my God. So let's just get a quick look here. Happy birthday to the speaking of guys that invented their own style, and people call it their style. Merle Travis. Happy birthday to Merle Travis.
There you go.
There is a thing. He invented Travis picking, which you study as a guitar player, especially if you play country or bluegrass. It's called Travis picking. And actually, anytime anybody refers to playing with the pick and the fingers at the simultaneously, a lot of people refer to it just as Travis picking. Blues, like Godfather of British blues, John Mayall was born in the same 1933. It feels so good today. You know why?
Why is that?
Because it's Chuck Mangione's birthday.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there we go.
Denny Dougherty from the Mamas and the Papas.
Wow.
Twink was born this day in 1944.
Who?
Twink.
The Pink Fairies. Punk.
Oh, okay.
Ronnie Montrose. We mentioned
Oh,
Ronnie
Ron.
Montrose.
Oh, wow.
Was born this day in 1947.
Wow.
Yeah. And, Jennifer Batten, who played with Michael Jackson for many years, was born this day in 1957.
It was a long ass time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else we need to really talk about here? No.
Nope. Yeah,
No,
I'll teach him.
I'm sorry.
Also, it's basically my 40th birthday in a month, so you guys can send gifts, money,
Start
alcohol.
sending the gifts now.
Yeah.
Lily, what's your show again?
Hot Licks with Lily 6 on Rock Rage Radio. It is Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can download the app for free or just go to rockrageradio.com.
Loudini Rock and Roll Circus.com. Go there, check out all kind of cool stuff, all our archives and cool things right there, bios as well as merchandise. All the stuff is there. And wolfscustoms.online. Check them out for custom artwork done on your musical instrument. Guys, it was a lot of fun today.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was fun to talk about some of these other these bands, and to kind of think about, like, wow, especially Genesis,
This was a fun topic.
That was a good one. So
Yeah,
this is
it
a really
was
fun topic. I'm sure that those of you out there at home, you have your own that you love. In any case, we don't really care what you think.
No,
because it's a
no,
joke. It's a joke. Oh my
Lou,
God.
Lou, no, we do care.
I don't care.
Lily doesn't, but me and Lou do.
I'm just gonna go ahead and cancel myself. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll catch you all on the next Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. We went kind of long, so I just skipped the song.
No, you'll show them.
Bye, everybody.
Adios, amigos.